Am I the a-hole for exposing my friend's girlfriend's lie? I, 27 female, and my friend, 22 male, were discussing crazy things we figured out over the years, and while we were talking, I told him about the time I exposed a huge lie that caused my friend to break up with his girlfriend. My friend, who I told this story to, said that I was a big asshole for butting my business into somebody else's relationship. I told my friend that I did it to protect my friend and that I wasn't an asshole. Even after my friend persisted that I was an asshole and that it wasn't my business, I still disagreed. But ever since I told my friend about this story, I've started wondering if I actually was the asshole. This situation happened a few years ago, and I honestly haven't thought much about it since it happened before now. One of the guys, we'll call him Conrad, got into a relationship with this girl, we'll call her Leah. When our friend group learned about it, we were really excited for him and also very supportive. For context, Conrad is a very introverted and shy guy who gets very nervous around girls. It took almost a year before he was comfortable around me and stopped getting nervous. He is the kind of guy you would describe as a sweaty gamer, so when we learned he got into a relationship, we were all kind of surprised but very happy for him. We all wanted to meet her and scheduled a hangout with everyone. Unfortunately for me, I was unable to attend because I was called in to work at the hospital. When I got home from work that day, my at the time boyfriend had gotten back from the hangout. I asked him what she was like, and he simply said he didn't like her. I also learned that the rest of the friend group didn't like her either, but when I asked them why, they couldn't give me a specific reason. I ignored what they said because I hadn't met her, and I like to form my own opinions and not get influenced by other people. I knew that the friend group was already planning that year's Halloween party and that Conrad and Leah would be there, so I was still excited to meet Leah. A week goes by, and the Halloween party is happening that night, and I was finally going to meet Leah. Nothing noteworthy happened at the Halloween party. Leah seemed really nice, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about her. I was worried that maybe I felt like something was off about her due to my friends' opinions about her, but I wanted to give her a chance, so I tried to shake that feeling away. A few days after the Halloween party, I ended up meeting Leah again. This time, I learned that Leah had a kid from a previous relationship, but whenever I asked her about her child, she would always try to divert or completely change the subject. That same feeling I had from the Halloween party started creeping in. Like there was something off about her, but I couldn't pinpoint what exactly. Another week passes and Conrad and Leah have officially been together for 4 weeks when Conrad announces to the friend group that Leah is pregnant with his child. We were all pretty shocked, but we tried to be supportive, although some of the guys in the friend group wanted Leah to terminate the pregnancy. During this time, Conrad and Leah started hanging out a lot more with me and my boyfriend at the time. Leah would talk about her pregnancy and how excited she was, and you could tell that Conrad was excited too. I was excited too for them up until Leah started sharing more details about her pregnancy. Leah knew I worked at the hospital as a nurse, but she didn't know that my department's specialty was gynecology and that I worked with patients up to 18 weeks of pregnancy. As I mentioned before, Conrad and Leah had only been together for 4 weeks when she found out she was pregnant. The first time I hung out with Leah and Conrad after the news broke was almost a week later. She told me that she found out she was pregnant when she, by chance, had to go to the emergency room due to an infection. She then proceeded to tell me that they did an ultrasound. This really stuck out to me, but I just pretended that it didn't. I asked her about the ultrasound, and she showed me a picture of the sonogram and boasted about the baby's heartbeat. My alarms went off, but I didn't want to say anything just yet. I asked her if she knew how far along she was, and she said about 3 weeks. She also told me that she got pregnant even though she had an IUD and that the doctors didn't want to remove the device. For those who work in healthcare, and especially with gynecology, you'll know exactly why my alarms went off. Usually for ultrasounds, they don't do it until you're at least 5 weeks along, at least in my country. This is due to the fact that they don't usually find a heartbeat before the earliest point of 5 weeks. Another thing is that if you have an IUD and pregnancy is detected early, the doctors will usually remove it because the IUD can lead to complications later in the pregnancy. Right after Leah and Conrad left, I immediately turned to my boyfriend and told him that I didn't think the baby was his. We both discussed whether or not we should tell Conrad, but we decided initially not to say anything because it was still early, and we tried to make excuses that maybe Leah got the wrong information or misunderstood what the doctors told her. Some time passes by, and Leah is approximately 12 weeks pregnant. My boyfriend at the time and I still hadn't said anything to Conrad. Mainly because we didn't want to create any drama in case I was wrong in my suspicions. In the weeks in between, we had learned that Leah's previous child didn't live with his father but was actually taken away by Child Protective Services, which only raised my boyfriend's and my suspicions of her. One evening, Leah and Conrad come over to hang out with me and my boyfriend. Leah is again boasting about her pregnancy. She shows me an app that tracks her pregnancy and how big the baby was at that time. When she showed me the app, I noticed up in one of the corners of the app that the week was displayed. It said week 16, but she should have been week 12. I didn't say anything to her, but I felt more confident in my suspicions. I decided to ask her when her screening was. I am not sure if it's called screening in English, but directly translated from my language it is called screening. She then tells me that she already did her screening. I was now 100% certain that the baby wasn't his. The screening doesn't take place before the 18th week, which is why my department only works with pregnancies up until the 18th week before they are transferred to the birthing department. Right after they leave that evening, I tell my boyfriend that we need to tell Conrad that the baby isn't his. I tell him all the things that she told me that evening, and my boyfriend reveals that Conrad had told him that he had never been to any of the ultrasounds because Leah didn't want him there. We immediately tell Conrad that he has to meet us without Leah. Conrad is a bit reluctant, but he does meet us. We tell him everything about the ultrasound, the heartbeat, the IUD, and the screening. Conrad immediately starts yelling at us, saying that we are making things up, and he storms off. He blocks us everywhere. Leah blocks me on all social media, and we don't hear anything from them for a while. During this time, my boyfriend and I decide to tell the friend group about everything, and they side with us and try to convince Conrad to at least take a paternity test when the baby is born. Conrad cuts most of the people in our friend group off, and we don't hear from him for several weeks. I think almost 2 months had passed before Conrad finally reached out to me. He tells me that he had broken up with Leah, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He slowly joins back in with the friend group, and another month goes by before he tells us that the baby wasn't his. After my boyfriend and I told him that we didn't believe the baby was his, he admitted he was first in denial but started noticing that something was a bit off. He still hadn't gone to one of the ultrasounds because Leah always said it made her uncomfortable if he went inside. It wasn't until a checkup that Leah had a month after we had our conversation with Conrad when he demanded to come to her ultrasound. She reluctantly let him go with her, and he found out that she was further along in her pregnancy. It took a few more months before Conrad told us what truly had happened. Leah was already pregnant when she met Conrad. Leah's ex had taken his own life after Leah had told him that she was pregnant again, and Leah didn't know what to do because her first child had already been taken away by Child Protective Services. When she met Conrad, she decided to pretend that she got pregnant by him in hopes that it would prevent Child Protective Services from taking her baby away. Leah told everyone that her due date was in June. She gave birth to a baby girl in early March.